67% of men over 50 have compromised blood vessel function. That statistic comes from recent cardiovascular research published last year. Most of these men have no idea why this happens. If you feel tired, cold, or disconnected from your body constantly, if intimate moments have become unpredictable or disappointing lately, if you wake up without the energy you once had, everything mainstream medicine tells you about circulation is incomplete today. This affects your energy, your confidence, and your relationships deeply. In my 25 years studying vascular health with patients, I will reveal the exact 2-ingredient protocol working miracles. But first, you must understand why pills keep failing you. Here is what nobody explains to aging men about circulation. Your blood vessels are not simply pipes carrying blood around passively. They are living, breathing tissue requiring specific chemical conditions always. When those conditions disappear, everything starts falling apart gradually inside. I have spent decades researching why conventional approaches consistently fail. The answer shocked me when I finally discovered the truth. Most treatments target symptoms instead of the actual root cause. Think about what happens when you visit your doctor concerned. They check your blood pressure and maybe order some tests. If numbers look concerning, they prescribe a medication immediately. That pill forces your blood vessels to relax, chemically open. But it never asks why those vessels stopped relaxing naturally. The underlying dysfunction continues worsening beneath the surface silently. And if you are finding this valuable information already helpful, hit that subscribe button so you never miss important solutions. What I am about to share completely changes the game. Let me take you on a journey inside your blood vessels. Picture millions of tiny cells lining every artery wall precisely. These cells are called endothelial cells, and they are crucial. They produce a molecule called nitric oxide every single second. Nitric oxide is the master signal for blood vessel relaxation. It tells your blood vessels to expand and allow flow. Without sufficient nitric oxide, your vessels stay narrow and stiff. Blood cannot flow where your body desperately needs it most. Your wife. This explains why your hands and feet feel cold constantly. This explains why fatigue hits you harder than it should. This explains why intimate function becomes unreliable and frustrating. Now, here is where conventional medical wisdom fails you completely. Doctors prescribe medications that force blood vessels open artificially fast. These pharmaceutical drugs bypass your natural nitric oxide production entirely. They essentially hijack your vascular system with external chemicals constantly. Your cells never get the signal to produce nitric oxide themselves. This creates a dangerous dependency on those external medications forever. Your body stops even trying to make nitric oxide naturally anymore. The underlying problem keeps getting worse over time progressively. Men find themselves needing higher and higher doses eventually. Some reach a point where even maximum doses stop working. A landmark study from the University of Colorado revealed something significant. Researchers discovered that blood pH directly affects nitric oxide production. When your blood becomes too acidic, endothelial cells malfunction badly. They cannot produce the nitric oxide your vessels desperately need. This creates a vicious downward cycle of declining circulation continuously. Here is an analogy that makes this crystal clear immediately. Ventus atri seniorwellness. Think of your blood vessels like a garden hose in summer. When everything works properly, water flows freely through smoothly. Now imagine that hose developing mineral buildup inside over years. The opening narrows gradually and water pressure drops significantly. Eventually, barely a trickle comes out the other end. Acidic blood creates similar deposits inside your blood vessels. The passage shrinks slowly and blood struggles to flow through. Your heart works harder, pumping against this increased resistance constantly. Organs and tissues receive less oxygen than they require daily. The entire system begins deteriorating from the inside outward gradually. But here is what makes this even more frustrating. As men age, blood naturally becomes more acidic over time. Decades of stress hormones accumulate and increase acidity levels continuously.
Processed foods and medications add to the acid burden.
Poor sleep quality further contributes to acidic blood conditions. I remember a gentleman named William who visited my practice. He was 61 years old and deeply concerned about himself. His energy had been declining steadily for over 5 years now. Intimate function had become so unpredictable and he avoided situations completely. William had tried everything his doctors had recommended to him. 3 different prescription medications with terrible side effects each time. Expensive supplements that promised miracles but delivered nothing real. Exercise programs he could not maintain because of constant fatigue. He sat in my office with his head hung down low. His voice was barely above a whisper when he spoke. He said he felt like he was watching himself disappear. The man he used to be was fading away quickly. What struck me most was the shame in his eyes.
He felt like a failure as a man and as a husband.
His wife tried to be understanding, but he sensed her frustration. Their marriage was suffering because of something beyond his control. Nobody had ever explained to William the real problem clearly. His blood had become too acidic for proper vessel function. Years of accumulated stress and poor habits created this environment. His endothelial cells were drowning in acid every single day. No prescription could fix this fundamental chemistry problem directly. Those pills just forced vessels open against their damaged nature. The underlying cause remained completely unaddressed by conventional medicine. Here is the paradigm shift you absolutely must understand today. The problem is not your age or your declining hormone levels. The problem is your internal chemical environment deteriorating over years. When you restore proper pH balance inside your bloodstream, finally, your endothelial cells wake up and start functioning normally again. Nitric oxide production returns to healthy, youthful levels naturally. You absolutely must fix the soil before anything else matters. The same principle applies to your circulation and blood vessels. Fix the internal environment first before expecting any real improvement. Everything else becomes possible once that foundation is restored properly. This brings me to the first powder in this that is you, Powerful Protocol. It sits in almost every kitchen cabinet across America already. You have probably used it hundreds of times for various purposes. Baking soda, also known as sodium bicarbonate, chemically speaking. This incredibly humble powder holds remarkable power over blood chemistry. Baking soda is nature's most effective pH buffering agent available. When dissolved in water, it neutralizes excess acid almost immediately. Your blood shifts toward a more alkaline, balanced state quickly. Endothelial cells suddenly find themselves in a hospitable, friendly environment. They can begin producing nitric oxide like they did years ago. Research from the American Physiological Society confirms this exact mechanism. Scientists discovered that bicarbonate supplementation improves endothelial function measurably. Blood vessels responded more effectively to nitric oxide signals significantly. Study participants showed measurable improvements in blood flow overall consistently. The chemistry behind this is beautifully simple, and elegant. Bicarbonate ions neutralize hydrogen ions that create acidity problems. This raises blood pH toward the optimal alkaline range quickly. Endothelial enzymes that produce nitric oxide function better in alkalinity. More nitric oxide means more relaxation and better blood flow. You see those bubbles and fizzing when the powders combine. That reaction is not just for show or entertainment value. Carbon dioxide releases as a completely new compound forms in solution. Sodium citrate emerges from this chemical transformation, ready to help. Second, sodium citrate improves red blood cell flexibility remarkably well. Your red blood cells must squeeze through microscopic, tiny capillaries. Stiff, inflexible red blood cells cannot navigate these narrow passages. They get stuck and create traffic jams, blocking oxygen delivery. Sodium citrate makes cell membranes more fluid and flexible immediately. Red blood cells can slide through capillaries like water through silk. Oxygen reaches every corner of your body much more efficiently. Tissues that have been starved finally receive proper nourishment again. Blood vessel muscles need ATP to maintain dilation without collapsing. Without sufficient energy, they fatigue and constrict prematurely unexpectedly. Sodium citrate ensures they have fuel to stay open longer. This prevents the mid-performance failures that frustrate so many men. Think of the baking soda and citric acid like partners. Baking soda prepares the environment by reducing harmful acidity levels. Neither ingredient works optimally without the other being present. Now let me explain the exact protocol and precise timing. This is where precision becomes absolutely critical for real results. Too much or too little changes the chemical reaction outcome entirely. The ratio must be exactly correct for proper sodium citrate formation. Use 2 parts baking soda to 1 part in citric acid precisely. This ratio ensures complete reaction and optimal compound formation always. If proportions are wrong, you get incomplete conversion and weak effects. Specifically, start with 3 grams of baking soda as baseline. That equals approximately half a teaspoon level measurement precisely. Add 1 gram of citric acid to this exact measurement carefully. That equals approximately 1/4 teaspoon level measurement approximately. Effects gradually diminish after the 90-minute peak point passes. However, consistent daily use creates cumulative, lasting benefits over time. Your baseline circulation improves with each passing week of use. The long-term benefits extend far beyond just immediate performance. Consistent use actually improves blood vessel health progressively over time. Endothelial cells become healthier and more efficient at nitric oxide production.